getting started talking about. Let's talk. Yes.
How does one even start? Someone says, I'm a writer, I have all of these things. How do I get into a room?
The first thing is the agent. You got to get the agent. Yeah. You got to get the agent. And if it means getting the manager to get the agent, then get the manager to get the agent. And how do you get the agent? All the things you're doing are the right things to be doing. Yeah. Now it's just trying to find the way to get that representation. Yeah. And I would say, look, there's UTA, WME, ICM, CAA that are the big ones. Maybe don't focus on those big ones right away. There's so many really, really great boutique agencies that are looking for young writers. I'd love to hear from you guys. What are you hearing in terms of ways to find agents or ways to get out there? Is it giving material? Is it going, are there like mixers and things like that?
Most of what I'm hearing is clearly utilize your connections. Like, where are organizations that are out there to help us as young writers, especially things like NALEAP or NHMC, like reaching out to those. The competitions, certainly, because those can expose you to a lot of people. That's the agent manager thing I've heard, like how to get somebody. But as far as maybe skipping that and getting a job, I always hear like you have to be a writer's assistant, like you have to be a PA or something.
I don't know that you always have to, but it certainly helps. It certainly helps. Just because, like, I now have such a short list of people who have done grunt work for me that would be the first people I would try to lift up next because of the amount of time I've been doing this. A lot of time, I mean, I typically like to work with women and people of color because that's who tends to come to me. You know, my assistant was a student of mine who I met 5 years ago, and now she was the PA, and then she worked her way up to being the showrunner assistant, and now she's my assistant for my production company, and I'm trying like hell to get her representation and to try to get her out there because she's been with me for a really long time. I would also say though that if you do have a boss that is a showrunner or an executive producer, their job is not to get you a job. You know, it's not their job. You have to be proactive because I do also see a lot of assistants and showrunner assistants and writer's assistants that do that for 5 or 6 years. I knew writer's assistants that had been doing it for 7 years. I think that you have to come in with a very strong plan of, I'm gonna do this for a certain period of time, and I'm gonna not sleep very much this year because I'm gonna be here giving my all to this job, but when I go home, I'm gonna be cultivating my materials so that I can make the most out of this experience and utilize this group of people and kill for them so that I can get feedback and advice from them, and then hopefully lift myself out of this in 2 years or 3 years, you know, put a time limit on that. Because if several years have gone by, we can just all get comfortable. And then it's hard. And then also I would say the writers in those rooms start to see you as that position and nothing more. And it's hard for them to even think of you because they're so used to, sometimes people are lifers. They just like doing that. There's nothing wrong with that. Not everyone might know that you're a writer unless you tell them. You know, so it's like at lunch, maybe don't hide in your office like we all want to. Maybe, you know, be by the fridge and be like, oh, hey, you know, I think you're so funny. You know, I see you always pitch in the room. You're so funny. You know, I'm a writer too, and something I hope to do. And then they'll be like, oh, cool. That's really cool. Oh, well, let me know if you ever write something. I mean, that's how those conversations happen. Agencies are tricky too because sometimes people have really strange relationships with their agents, so they don't feel comfortable. Even if they love you, they might be like, I love you, but I don't know, my agent doesn't even answer my phone calls, right? Sometimes they have their own issues with their agent, so they're not in a position to really help you out. So it's not their job. That's all I'm saying. It's not their job to get you work, it's still your job. But utilize that relationship as much as you can. Go to them for advice. And if some people are open to it and some people are not open to it, and if they're not open to it, be respectful of that and move on to somebody else who is.
I think it's important to talk about like taking the meeting with the show.
What's a meeting?
How to prepare for a meeting. This is
great. Okay, how to prepare for a meeting. This is great. This is not just with a showrunner, this is with anybody. How about let's do that? Listen, there's Google now, you guys. You should Google whoever you are meeting and find out, like, stalk them and find out who they are, what they worked on, what possible common ground you have. Do your homework before you sit down with anybody you're sitting down with. Be on time. Oh my God, be on time. It's my thing. That is my thing, especially with Latinos. Be on time. I'm not kidding. It's 2 minutes late, and I got already a bad feeling. I don't like it. Be on time. Get there with like 5 minutes to spare. Go in. And then when you get into their office, look around and see if maybe there's anything else there that like, oh, cool, I have that, right? Like find something to talk about there. Then I would say a general meeting typically consists of you telling a narrative about yourself. If they're sitting down with you for a general, it's like they've read you or they've heard good things about you. Now it's time to sit down and hear your story. So your story is something you need to practice at home. You need to practice your personal narrative.
What's a day in the room like?
What's a day in the room like? Okay, I'm gonna answer this in many parts. Your first day in the room is like the first day of school. You don't know anybody. What are you wearing? Are you comfortable? These are people that have been doing this for a long time. I was not good. I actually don't think I'm a shy person or an awkward person. I was scared shitless. Almost my first 3 jobs when I went into that room. Here, because if you get to the point where you are a writer in Hollywood and you are working on a staff, you are breathing rarefied air. You did it. All the stuff worked. There's 1,000 people in the world that have that job, and now you are one of them. Now you need to be doing the work of that. And it's heavy. It's heavy, or at least it was for me. And I would say it took me a while to get comfortable in those rooms. And for me, I definitely felt like I suffered from imposter syndrome. Anytime somebody would come in, I'd be like, oh, you want me to leave? I'm fired. No, oh, no. Oh, coffee? Oh, okay, yeah, I'll have some coffee. Like, it took me a minute. It took me a minute for me to feel like I deserved to be there and I belonged. Some of that came from the fact that when you are a diversity writer, when you are the only woman, when you are the only person of color in a room, you are a little bit the odd man out. I wish what I could tell myself as quickly as possible. Some of those people in there don't care. They don't care. Some of them are just happy there's another body that it's going to contribute. Some people do care, and they think that your seat should have belonged to somebody else. So all you can do in that scenario is not shut down, is double down, is show that not only do you deserve the seat, but you are there for a reason and to give a very specific point of view, and you were hired to do that, and you are going to be helpful and make this process awesome. That's what you have to do. I didn't do that. There was nobody there to tell me that. I spent a lot of time in rooms having anxiety, going to the bathroom, crying, splashing water on my face, and going back in. And I wish so much that somebody had sort of pulled me aside early on and been like, this is part of the process, it's scary, I get it, but you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay.
When was the change?
The change came when I started to find allies. When people in that room started to get to know me, when I started saying things that were funny or good, which for me started under my breath. I'd be like, what was this thing? Oh, that was funny. Yeah, Gloria just said this thing, right? But that's my bad. I should have been loud from the beginning. I should have been strong from the beginning. And it took me a minute. So I would say, give yourself a minute but you deserved a seat at that chair. You need to be talking. You are there for a reason. So talk. I'm giving you permission. I am telling you that now that you're in that room, they need you. Find the problems and solve those problems. Do it. It's okay. The moment I became, again, proactive, right? Like, once I did see, like, oh, that guy thinks I'm funny. So I'd pull aside, I'd be like, hey, man, listen, if I'm in the room, like, sometimes can I just show you jokes or write up jokes and send them to you and see what you think? And you'd be like, yeah, man, totally. Yeah. Like, they then will sometimes be like, sometimes I would just slip a thing over and they'd read and go, and I'd then say, right? Right? So it's finding those people and then seeing like now I got you, at least I got you on my side. So maybe my whole job is just going to try to make you laugh and say things to you. Then I would also say the showrunner can't write all the episodes. You are there to help them to make the show. That's the job. The job is that. I was so scared and I was so insecure that I forgot that it's not about them liking me or them saying I'm doing a good job. That's not the job. The job is to make their job easier. So get out of your own head. It's not about you. It's not about hurting your feelings. The best advice I could give anyone is it's not personal. And I'm so sensitive, and I think that now I know that my sensitivity, I think, is what makes me a good writer, but I was funneling it in the wrong way. I think that sensitivity needs to be, I need to be sensitive to you. You have a job to do and it's a lot of work. I'm gonna make it easier on you. What do you need? You need 5 jokes for that? You don't have that? I'm gonna then pitch on that because I'm gonna make your life easier, and that's how I'm gonna be sensitive and use my sensitivity. So that's what you need to do. You need to isolate what the problem is in the room, what the other people aren't able to give, and be the person that gives that. Because if you're solving problems, you're helping me make my show. You're invaluable to me now. Thank God you're here. Because if not, I wouldn't have had that solved that fixed the scene. Look at it as not like, oh my God, I finally have an idea, I'm gonna say it, and I hope they like it. It's not about that. It's, I have this idea. You don't like that? How about this idea? You don't like that? How about this idea? You don't like that? How about this idea? Ideas are cheap. They're 2 seconds old. We shouldn't get so tied up in that idea. We thought of it 2 seconds ago. Who gives a shit? Right? Think of the next one. You know, what about this? Am I on the right track? Is it close? Okay, cool. What about this? Right? So that's how you have to be valuable in a room. Once I understood that I have a personality in this room, and sometimes your personality in the room will change. Sometimes I was the mom. I would provide the maternal things. Sometimes I was the girl that was dating and I'd provide fun, sexy stories of flirts and makeouts from my past. Sometimes I would be the Latino voice. On Devious Maids, it was, I shared a story about my mom. My parents both have very thick accents, and I remember sitting watching the news with my mom once, and I said something. She goes, I don't even remember what I said. She goes, no, Glorita, say it like the newscaster, not like me. And I remember thinking, but why wouldn't I say it like you? You have the most beautiful voice in the world. But for her, the pain of her accent was not something that she wanted me to experience. And that left a fingerprint on me that I said, and then we used it in an episode where Rosalind Sanchez says that about her own accent. She's talking about her accent and how she can't get rid of it, and how it's, instead of a point of pride, it's a point of shame for her. And talking about that personal thing, right, that came from my life. So you figure out what your thing is, what's the thing that you're gonna do best, and how are you gonna help solve the problem. I think that's the best way to stand out in a room, is helping the showrunner solve their problem. I also realized that all of the stuff I'm thinking in my head, all of my insecurities, they have it too. They've just been doing it for 10, 15 years, so they're better at dealing with it. So once you realize we're all just people trying to make stories and trying to do a good job, and they have the pressures too, they're putting their show out there, they want it to be good, they want people to laugh. So if you can help them do that, then you're gonna be good.
How do you get your pitches heard in the room?
I will say the thing I always tell staff writers is, it's very easy to say, I don't like that. That doesn't help anybody. What helps people is, instead of this, why not this? Providing a solution. So don't ever really say, I don't love that. Say like, oh, you know this part right here? What if instead of this, he was doing this? Or what if instead of her walking in, she's doing, if you're providing 2, 3 different solutions, you're offering solutions to the problem of the scene, or the problem of the moment, or the problem of the joke. So I think initially, the moment for the very first time that we were supposed to have a discerning eye, the natural instinct is to say, oh, okay, cool. I know what's good and I know what's bad. I like that, I don't like that. I like that, I don't like that, right? But the problem with that is, in a staff scenario, it's not providing any solutions, it's not helping anyone, it's amateur hour. We have to move beyond that because it's not helpful. So the sooner that you can cultivate, how about this? How about that?
Yes,
That's pitching. So if it might take you a minute, the first few weeks you might be also taking the temperature of the room. Oh, this person talks a lot. Oh, this person's good. Oh, I think all their stuff is really funny. Oh, you know, you're kind of assessing, and so you're talking a little bit, but you're finding what the energy of the room is. Oh, my boss likes this kind of joke. Like, I don't tend to like poop and fart jokes. That's not my jam. Not to say that I'm not gonna laugh sometimes at a poop and fart joke, but generally speaking, not my thing. So if every joke from you is a poop and fart joke, and I'm like, I'm not really into poop and fart jokes, and you keep pitching poop and fart jokes, you're not solving my problem. That's the other thing too, is that you go like, oh, okay, they don't like this, they do like this. Oh, they don't like this, they do like this. When I pitch this, they like it. Okay, so then it starts to let you know how to form it, and then you can start to write out your pitches. Sometimes I would write out my full pitch so that I was just reading it off the page. And then you just get more comfortable and you start to be better able to do it.
So how does a typical season unfold in the writer's room?
I would say it depends on the showrunner. For Mike and I, we really like to do our homework as showrunners. We like to come in and have a very clear idea. So we'll say, we're probably starting here. this is probably going to be a couple of episodes that happen, and then this is our final scene. Like season 1, we knew that the quinceañera was going to be the final episode of season 1. Season 2, literally day 1, I came in and was like, I want Lydia to have a stroke, and the final episode is we're dealing with all of that. Season 3, Penelope's going to graduate. We know we're building to that thing. And then along the way, like, I don't know, we probably should comment on the Me Too thing. Let's try to do a Me Too episode. I think Elena should lose her virginity, right? They're kind of getting there in their friendship. So first time episode here, we want Schneider relapse. So let's do a Schneider relapse episode probably right here. That's where we're heading. Now let's open up the room to talk. And what happened this summer to you? Any stories? Any stories? Any stories? You know, and then people start telling their stories. The colorism episode happened because my brother is much darker than I am. He has green eyes and dark skin. Caramelo, he's gorgeous. So he called me up and he was like, I was on the beach and some guy walked up to me and told me to go back to Mexico. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah. And he's like, and the thing is, I was shocked, but also I was like, first of all, I'm not Mexican, but also don't say that to anybody. And he's like, what's happening in this world right now? And it made me think about all the times growing up that people would treat him differently, and I would see it, and he was like, it's not, like he was always like, they're idiots, forget it. But I would see it being with him, and I didn't experience that because I'm very white passing. So I told that story in the room. And here we have 2 kids on the show, Alex and Elena, where Elena's very blanquita and Alex is darker. And I was like, we can talk about colorism. Let's do it. So that's how it would go. So we have like a skeleton, and then the writers help us fill that in with texture and stuff from their own lives. Some rooms you go in and it's blue sky. It's blue sky and it's come in with 50 ideas. Come in with 50 A stories on day 1 and pitch them. And that's what you're supposed to do. Sometimes you'll get homework. Definitely it would be like come in with a bunch of story ideas, story areas, or funny things that happen in your life. And so it depends on the room, it depends on the showrunner, but you should have a lay of the land, and the showrunner is basically the person that guides the conversation. You know, we're talking about this, but let's focus more on this. They're the facilitator of the conversation. But typically speaking, what would happen is once you start to go down the road of a certain story idea, someone is the person that writes on the board. I used to try to write on the board because it meant I was being active, but I didn't necessarily have to say things because I was holding the pen. So if you feel like you shut down or you get nervous, be the person that writes on the board. That's helpful. And somebody will write all that down, and then I'll be like, all right, you're going to be writing this episode. So you will go take all the board information, all the notes that the writer's assistant. The writer's assistant, there's somebody that sits in the corner and types everything everybody is saying. So you don't have to write anything if you don't want to, but you should stay engaged. So you will get the board and you will get all the writer's notes, and you're going to go off and write either a beat sheet, which is about 5 pages, or an outline, which is about 7 to 10. And then you're going to give it to me, and I'm going to read it, and I'm going to give you notes, and you're going to do a second draft, and then that's going to go to the studio, and they're going to give us notes, and then it's going to go to the network, and then they're going to give us notes, and then you're going to go off on script and have a week to write that. And then that's going to come back into the room, and I'm going to give you notes on it, and you're going to go away and rewrite, and the room might give you notes on it, you're going to go away to rewrite, and then the room will rewrite it together. Some rooms, I think the Chuck Lorre rooms, they group write everything. So they never go off and write a script by themselves. They write everything as a group, which I've never done, but would be very interesting to experience. So that's a basic journey of being in a comedy writing room.
Were you nervous the first time you had to do it? Like, you imagine coming back like, no, you write everything. I'm like, damn, the whole episode? Like, yeah.
Yes.
For real?
Yeah.
Yes.
So how was that when you came
very
back with-
nervous.
Yeah.
I was nervous for the first few jobs. Mm-hmm. I really was. It took me a second. It took me a second to really get it together, and see that I deserved to be there. I had important things to say, and I also, you can't rely on having a mentor. You can't rely on somebody taking extra time to help you. You have to do that for yourself. So I think it's really about how much can I strengthen you guys? How much can I let you guys know to be advocates for yourself so that you can be doing the job to the best of your ability and not have all these other things weighing on you as you're doing it, you know? We're getting to do this cool thing, so let's try to take away anything icky so that we can do that really, really well and crush it And there's also the anxiety of like, oh my God, I'm the woman and the Latina. Like, if I don't do a good job, they're not going to hire more women and Latina. Like, it's a lot of pressure that you put on yourself. It's no good. We got to let that go. We just got to be doing the best work we can do and try not to come in with all of that other stuff. Leave that at the door.
What is the difference with a writer writing for, let's say, cable or network or like a streamline?
Okay. Not really a lot. I would say the subject matter. On network, you are subject to standards and practices. There are certain things you can and cannot say on network television. What that means is you'll turn the script in, you'll go through their creative process, you will have your table read, and after the table read, somebody from standards and practices will come up and say, you can't say this, you can't say this, or sometimes even get an email. I remember ABC Standards and Practices sent me an email about my episode of Mixology because I had used the word penis more than anyone had ever in the history of ABC.
Wow.
So, you're welcome. So I couldn't say penis that many times. So I think they said like, oh, you can use penis 6 times instead of 22 times or whatever. And so then you have to go back and adjust. Or you can't say, I remember at Fox, we could say freakin', like that's freaking cool, but you couldn't say friggin' cool because friggin' actually means to rub up. Like if you look up frig in the dictionary, it means to rub. And they felt like at the time, something about the line made it too sexual, but you could say freakin'. So you could say, that's freaking cool, but not that's friggin' cool.
Sounds like such a misunderstanding of like culture, because freaking, I'm like, oh, you freak up on somebody.
Yeah.
No one's like, oh,
Yeah.
they were frigging up on me in the club.
Yeah.
Like, that makes no sense.
And it's funny too, because I remember at How I Met Your Mother, we used to make things up. Like Filler and Chris Miller were kings of like coming up with funny things that meant nothing. They were, like, oh, that really got me in the apple bags. Like it sounds like something, but it's not a thing. That's not a thing. And sometimes we'd be like, you can't say it. They're like, well, that's not even a thing. Like there were things that we would come up with that would end up in Urban Dictionary after the fact. So it's really content. It's content, and then for streaming, it's length. On network, typically a half-hour show ends up being about 20 minutes once it's cut together. Whereas on Netflix, our show was 28 minutes, 29 minutes. We got a lot more time to have content. And then you are also beholden to commercial breaks. So there's act breaks. One Day at a Time has no act breaks because it's the whole thing you're watching. So you have to build to act breaks, and then you have to sort of reset after the commercial so that the audience can sit back in and get back into the journey.
Are there any do's and don'ts of the writer's room? Like anything you shouldn't do or something you should do?
I would think a don't, like I said before, was don't ever say, no, that's bad. I don't like that.
Don't call an idea bad.
Don't call an idea bad. Come up with a solution. Come up with a solution. Take the temperature of the room. Feel it out. This is all stuff that you're going to cultivate. You're going to get better at all of this as you're in there. But if some rooms are a little bit more silent and people think silently. Sometimes rooms are very active and people are talking, but other people are coming up with their thoughts as somebody else is telling a story. I would say try to be a good listener. Some rooms are phone free. I don't have a phone free room because I have kids, so I'm constantly checking my phone to make sure they're okay. But in general, you shouldn't be on your phone in a room. And some rooms, the showrunner insists on no phones, and I respect that. Try not to talk too much. Let other people talk too. Don't just hold court and don't let anyone else speak. Try not to speak over other people. I think in general, manners is something that writers' rooms can use. If 2 people are talking at the same time, our room tends to be like, oh my God, I'm sorry, you go ahead. No, you go ahead. No, you go ahead. Be that person. Be the you go ahead person and write down your idea and then say your idea afterwards. Another thing I love, and something that as a young writer especially I valued so much, is credit. Because as a room, all your ideas are everybody's. Everybody's idea is everybody's idea, right? But if you said something and I'm like, oh, I thought her idea was amazing. I think what you said was great. I think we should do that. That just lets somebody feel seen and feel like you're not just piggybacking on their idea. That's not always gonna happen. And you can't, and don't also be the person that's like, that was mine. I said that. It's all group. It doesn't matter. You don't get extra points, right? But try to be deferential. I think that's always nice and appreciated. You must watch every episode of the show. You must know. There's nothing worse than somebody who's new on staff going, oh, we should do this. And it's like, yeah, we did that season 2.
Whoa.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's your homework. Your homework is to make sure that you see all the episodes and you know what the show is about. Thank you so much for watching. It's not over here, you guys. You can still tweet me at EverythingGloria. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter. I'm still available to you. So keep asking those questions, keep doing the work. Make sure to watch all of the other Hollywood 101 videos on Pero Like's YouTube channel. This is Gloria Calderon-Kellett. Good luck.